Everyone wants to know what an enlightened person looks like. The calm, the stillness, the way they don't seem rattled by things that rattle everyone else. People study that, they try to copy it. It's the wrong question. And chasing that answer might be exactly what's keeping you stuck. There's a better question, a much better question. What does someone look like who is on the path to enlightenment? What's the leading indicator? And I think I actually found it. And it's not what anyone talks about. Most people think the signs are calm under pressure and absence of ego and deep presence and no reactivity. And those might be real. And someone who's genuinely there, even though there is no there, but that's another video. But here's the problem. Every single one of those can be faked. And they get faked constantly. I fake them. Calmness can be disassociation. Hello, right? Guilty. Absence of ego can be a more refined ego. Hello, guilty again. One that's proud of having no ego. Guilty again. Deep presence can be performed. Guilty again. No reactivity can just be suppression with better branding. Ooh, but that's none of my business. Ooh, putting the spiritual community on blast. But also, guilty is charged. But these are all outputs, and outputs can be counterfeited, especially in the spiritual community. And if you're trying to identify who's genuinely growing, because that was like my thing, like, how can I actually tell someone's enlightened or not, right? So if you're trying to identify who's genuinely growing or whether you're genuinely growing, outputs will mislead you every single time. Okay? The leading indicator of enlightenment is honesty about where you actually are. Not honesty as virtue, not honesty as self-flagellation. Fancy word, flagellation. I'm gonna flagellate. I'm finna flagellate. All right? But just accurate reporting about your inner state right now without editing it toward the version you wish it were. The person who says, I got completely triggered by that conversation and I'm still not over it. That person is doing the work. That's real. That's something you can actually move through. The person who says, I've moved past reactivity, and they haven't, has just built a more sophisticated story, a more spiritual sounding ego. The false self didn't get smaller, it got a vocabulary upgrade. You cannot dissolve something you're pretending isn't there. And that's what enlightenment actually is. The disillusion of the constructed self, the persona, the mask. You cannot dissolve a mask you're insisting is your face. And here's why honesty is a leading indicator and not just a nice quality. Every moment you accurately report your inner state without performing, without softening, without upgrading it, the false self loses ground. That is the process. It's not preparation for the work, it is the work. Think about it the other way. What happens when you fake it? The false self gets reinforced. You practice it, you get better at it. Who's resonating with this? Say I. I. All right, Tony Robbins. But for real, who's resonating with this? Like, have you ever faked it before? And then you fake it again, and then you start getting so good at faking it that no one knows you're faking it. but you're practicing it, you're getting better at it. And the gap between who you are and who you're performing widens. And then you need more energy to maintain it. And then you're exhausted and you don't even know why. Oof. Who who's like, fuck, that's so me, Paul. Oh my God. Yeah, me too. Dishonesty about your inner state is literally the mechanism that keeps you from evolving. It is the opposite of the path. So finding someone who's honest about where they are, who can say, I'm afraid, I'm confused, I don't know, without it threatening their identity, that person is closer than someone with all the right answers and all the right composure. So the path is, it's not mysterious. It doesn't require special conditions or a particular teacher or the right retreat or, the right alternative medicine in this part of the jungle. It requires one thing: constantly, in ordinary moments, the willingness to see where you actually are and not flinch away from it. Enlightenment isn't a destination you perform your way into. It's what's left when you stop performing. So start there.